I want to give you a piece of advice that you might find useful. I found it useful in dealing with hate mail. What I find is, generally it's people from the left, although we do on occasion hit a nerve of people on the right, and we get hate mail from them as well. They're both equally capable of writing hate mail. But one of the approaches I've taken to dealing with this that you may find useful is somebody writes and says, "You're an idiot, you're wrong because of the following things."
They were right with the first assertion.
Right. Don't respond to the "you are an idiot" thing. In fact, pretend the person didn't write it. Look through the email for things that the person said that are not ad hominem, that they're actual arguments. And you might find that they're not very good arguments. So bolster them, make them better. I'm saying writing, you would be talking perhaps, but when you communicate back with the person, say, okay, here's what I heard you say, and lay out the person's argument for them. And not in a disingenuous way. Give them the strongest argument you can. And what you will find, what I've found in virtually 99% of the cases, the people write back, and it's if it's a different person I'm talking to. It's a human being who's communicating with me and saying, okay, I heard you about this, but what about this? And can we find some common ground there? All the ad hominem is gone. If you connect with the person as a human being, and you're going to have to take the first step to do it, don't respond to the ad hominem. They almost invariably will respond in kind, and you'll have a constructive conversation. That's not to say that you'll end up convincing the person, but at the very least, the person will walk away having a greater respect for people like you who have these kinds of opinions.
Some of you listen to our podcast. You all should subscribe on multiple devices. We got to get our numbers up. At the end, Anthony gives our email address, and I would say, don't write, don't write, don't write. Because here's what nobody actually knows. Anthony answers every single piece of hate mail. Every single one, and he CCs me on it. which I don't really care for. I don't mind that he does it, I just don't need to see the sausage getting made on this one. I'm 3 hours behind in Arizona, and he wakes up 4 hours earlier than I do, even when we're in the same time zone. Sometimes I wake up and there's 40 or 50 responses and a back and forth in my inbox. But I have to say, he's right. I don't say this often, but Ant is right. When he responds, they become very rational. Very, very rational. And they actually become decent. And I've actually seen a couple even apologize for the ad hominems, which, if you've lived with the internet for even 20 minutes, that's like a pterodactyl sighting, right? I mean, you actually saw someone apologize for words he said on the internet. So this idea of principle, it seems like a very long road to walk, and it seems like it's probably not going to be terribly fruitful. And maybe in the aggregate, that's the more realistic way to look at it. But when you look at it on an individual level, what you see everywhere you see it are people who can actually be reasoned with, and people who are happy to be reasoned with, and people who become quite reasonable. What's the aggregate but a collection of individual observations, right? So over time, we may well be able to shift things here, but it's incumbent upon us to actually never cede the high ground. And the high ground seems to require our being nice to one another, even when there's no earthly reason to be nice to one another, or when it's at least fabulously difficult.
Keep in mind as well, you may perceive the conversation you're having as your conversation with whoever this is. Always remember you're one in a great community. And that person you're talking to will go away and end up interacting with another person. If you can let that person walk away from you without disrespecting you and without you disrespecting them, even if they don't agree with you, you lay a little bit of groundwork, you make it easier for the next one who talks to that person. And it may take 5, 6, 10 people talking to that person before the person comes around and says, yeah, okay, I can see this argument and I buy it. But we don't get to that 20th person unless the previous 19 are respectful.